The town of Redstone Creek wasn't known for much, just dust, whiskey, and men trying to outlive their sins. The sun hung low that evening, casting long orange streaks through the swinging doors of the Rusted Spur saloon. The piano in the corner creaked out a lazy tune. Glasses clinked and smoke hung thick enough to chew, and right there, in the shadowed corner by the window, sat the man folks called old Eli Grant, a quiet drifter who never spoke unless spoken to, never drew unless he had to, and never lost when he did. His beard was gray, his eyes were cold rivers of steel, and his revolver, an old Colt, Peacemaker, sat on the table beside, his drink like a sleeping snake. No one knew much about Eli anymore. He'd ridden through hell once, fought in border wars, hunted down outlaws for bounty, and buried more ghosts than he could count. But now, he just wanted peace, if such a thing even existed in the West. The young guns, though, never believed peace belonged to old men. That night, a new name rode into Redstone, Jesse Kade, a sharp-tongued gunslinger with a reputation as fast as his draw. He was all swagger and show, spurs clinking, coattails flaring, and a smile sharp enough to cut glass. Jesse was the kind of man who needed to be the loudest, the fastest, the most feared. And when he saw old Eli sitting there, silent, gray, forgotten, he saw a chance to prove himself. He strutted up to the table, whiskey in hand, a cocky grin plastered across his face. "Well, I'll be damned," Jesse said loud enough for the whole bar to turn. Didn't know the saloon let fossils in after dark. Laughter rippled through the crowd, low and mean. Eli didn't move, didn't even blink. He just took another slow sip of his drink. Jesse leaned closer, voice dripping venom. "You one of those old-timers who used to think he could shoot? Bet your handshake so bad now you couldn't hit a barn if it fell on you." Still nothing. Jesse smirked, picked up the bottle, and poured whiskey right over Eli's hat. The liquid dripped down his coat, pooling on the floorboards. The saloon went dead silent. You could hear the wind outside stop to listen. Then Eli finally spoke, his voice calm, slow, like the sound of boots walking toward a grave. "Son," he said, setting his glass down, "if you're gonna wake a sleeping bear, you best know how to run." The younger man chuckled, stepping back. "Old man, you ain't no bear. You're just bones with a gun." Eli's eyes lifted, and for a second Jesse saw something cold in them. Not fear, not rage, just something ancient, dangerous. A sudden breeze swung the doors open, scattering dust. Eli stood, his shadow long and crooked under the lantern light. The old man didn't draw. He didn't even reach for his gun. He just looked at Jesse like a preacher staring down sin itself. "Go home, boy," Eli said quietly, "while you still got a home to go to." But pride is poison, and Jesse Kade was drunk on it. He spat on the floor, sneering. "Maybe I'll make a name for myself tonight," he said. "Maybe the West needs to know Jesse Kade killed the legend of Eli Grant." A chair scraped. Boots shifted. No one breathed. Eli didn't move. But the air did. Sharp, electric, tight as a trigger about to break. The young gun reached for his weapon. And in that heartbeat, crack, Eli's Colt thundered once, just once. The shot echoed through the saloon like judgment. Jesse froze, his hand still halfway to his gun, eyes wide in disbelief. Then he fell. Eli holstered his revolver before the boy hit the floor. The room stayed silent, save for the slow drip of whiskey from the table's edge. Eli turned to the bartender. "Pour another." No one dared speak. The legend wasn't dead. It had just reminded everyone it was still very much alive. That night, Redstone Creek learned a rule carved in blood and smoke. Never taunt a man who's done trying to forget what he's capable of. Outside, the wind howled across the plains, carrying the whispers of a ghost that refused to die. And somewhere in the shadows, Eli Grant looked west, toward the land he once ruled and the devils still waiting to be reckoned with. 2 days after the shooting, the town of Redstone Creek hadn't stopped talking. Jesse Kade's body had been buried out behind the church, and though the preacher said prayers, most folks whispered it was a warning from God himself. Word spread fast. By sunset, men in 3 neighboring towns knew that Eli Grant had drawn again. But not everyone feared that news. Some men saw it as opportunity. In a nearby canyon, a gang of cutthroats sat around a campfire, the Black Spurs, once led by a name that sent chills through lawmen from Texas to Nevada, Clayton Ward, the outlaw king of the Western Trails, and Eli Grant's old enemy. Years ago, Eli had put a bullet through Clayton's brother during a bounty chase gone wrong. Since then, Ward had sworn he'd make Eli pay. with his blood. When Clayton heard Jesse Kade was dead by Eli's hand, he smiled through his cigar smoke. "Well," he said, eyes glinting, "looks like the old dog's still got teeth. Guess it's time we pulled them." By dawn, 5 riders thundered toward Redstone. Eli knew they were coming. He'd been waiting on the saloon porch since sunrise, sipping coffee like a man expecting company. His gun was clean. His saddlebag was packed. Peace had been broken. There was no sense pretending otherwise. The bartender, a nervous kid barely old enough to shave, stepped outside. "You're not running, Mr. Grant?" Eli smiled faintly. "Son, I've been running my whole life. Think I'll stop today." When the riders arrived, dust boiled behind them. Clayton Ward dismounted first, tall, broad, with a black duster and a scar cutting across his jaw. His voice was low, steady, like thunder crawling over the desert. "You killed my brother, old man. I figure it's time we settle that debt." Eli nodded. "Then let's settle it proper." The townsfolk cleared the street. The wind stilled again, like even the earth was waiting. 2 legends stood 10 paces apart, one old, one still in his prime. Clayton sneered. "You sure you still got it in you, Eli? The years ain't been kind." Eli's hand brushed his holster, slow and steady. "Time didn't take it," he said. "It just taught me patience." The world went silent. Then, lightning flashed in the form of lead. 5 guns barked at once. Dust erupted, glass shattered, horses screamed. But when the smoke cleared, it was over. Clayton Ward lay on his back, eyes glassy, gun still smoking. His men had fled. And Eli Grant, bleeding from a graze on his arm, holstered his weapon one last time. He walked to the fallen outlaw, knelt beside him and whispered, "You shouldn't have come looking for ghosts, Clayton. Some of us don't stay buried." Then he stood, tipping his hat to the rising sun, and walked out of town. No one ever saw Eli Grant again. Some say he rode north, chasing redemption. Others claim he vanished into legend. But every saloon in the West keeps a story of that day. The day an old cowboy reminded everyone that the most dangerous man in the West wasn't the one who shouted the loudest, but the one who stayed silent the longest. So if you ever find yourself in some dusty saloon, and an old man sits quiet in the corner, best leave him be. Because in the Wild West, the past ain't dead. It's just waiting for someone foolish enough to wake it.